Imagine doing a job you enjoy doing. This job is dangerous. You put your body on the line every day, risking serious injury. Now imagine not being paid to do this job. That doesn't sound fair, and yet this is what collegiate athletes experience when they compete for their schools. Millions of dollars are made every year from college athletic programs, and still the athletes remain unpaid. Most collegiate athletes put a lot of time and effort into playing and competing for their schools and are unjustly not paid for their contributions. I'm a fan of college athletics, and I have done research on college compensation for collegiate athletes. First, I will review the current rules set by the NCAA governing how athletes can be compensated. Next, I will discuss the demands of being a collegiate athlete. Finally, I will explore the revenue being generated by the NCAA. Most collegiate athletes put a lot of time and effort into playing and competing for their school and are unjustly not paid for their contributions. The National Collegiate Athletic Association regulates athletes of 1,123 colleges and universities. The NCAA has rules currently in place prohibiting paying college athletes. The NCAA requires all student athletes to be certified as amateurs. Amateurism requirements do not allow salary for participating in athletics, as well as prize money above actual necessary expenses. Some argue that these no-pay rules set forth by the NCAA violate federal law. According to Mark Edelman at City University of New York, they violate antitrust law as well as illegal wage fixing and illegal group boycott. Now that I have reviewed some of the rules and regulations governing student athletes, let's look at some of the demands the athletes face. Being a student athlete can be demanding on the body and requires the dedication of lots of time. Injuries sustained while playing sports can have a lifelong impact on the student athletes, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. During the 5 academic years between 09-10 through 13-14, there were an estimated 1,053,370 college sports-related injuries. As reported by Jason Cody at Michigan State University, almost 30% of college athletes' injuries are a result of overuse. Overuse injuries occur gradually over time without a single event responsible for the injury. Overuse injuries can lead to reduced function and psychological exhaustion, as well as long-term residual symptoms and chronic health consequences, such as arthritis. Collegiate athletes must dedicate large amounts of time to their sports. Per the NCAA, student athletes are only allowed to spend no more than 20 hours a week on required athletic activities during their seasons and 8 hours during the off-season, except in football. As a recent NCAA survey found students are participating much more than 20 hours a week. Division I football averaged 43 hours a week, baseball 42.1, and men's basketball was 39.2 hours per week. And that's the division of time for a student athlete. And it says here 2/3 of Division I student athletes say they spend as much or more time in the off season than during the season. Now that I've discussed some of the demands student athletes face, I'll illustrate the revenue being generated from college athletics. Large amounts of money are being generated from college athletics. The NCAA generates revenue from the students participating in athletics. In 2014, the NCAA reported nearly $1 billion in revenue, which resulted in an almost $80.5 million surplus, as reported by Steve Burkowski for the USA Today Sports. NCAA bylaw states players are forbidden from permitting, quote, the use of his or her name or picture to advertise, recommend, or promote directly the sale or use of commercial product or services of any kind, end quote. Yet players' pictures are used on signs and billboards by schools to improve ticket sales. Today I reviewed how the NCAA governs the compensation of its student athletes. I discussed the demand of being a collegiate athlete. Finally, I illustrated the revenue generated by student athletes, or by student athletics for the NCAA. Most collegiate athletes put in a lot of time and effort into playing and competing in athletics for their schools and are unjustly not paid for their contributions. While the logistics of paying student athletes would be complicated, the non-payment of collegiate athletes while others make money is simply unjust and unfair. Some collegiate coaches are paid an annual salary of millions of dollars, and large lavish sports complexes are being built at universities, yet it is still believed that the athletes, the ones risking serious and potentially lifelong injury, should remain unpaid. The idea of non-payment is outdated, and it's time our collegiate athletes are rightly compensated for the services they provide.